In this video, I will show how our team created accessible PDF documents to be used on our OER website. Now that we have created an accessible Microsoft Word document, it's time to convert that document to PDF. This is done by installing Adobe Acrobat Pro on your computer, which will give you an additional tab within Word. Once going to this tab, you first want to visit Preferences, and then make sure Enable Accessibility and Reflow with tagged Adobe PDF is checked. After that, you can create a PDF, name it and save it as you wish, and then open that document. Now that we are within the PDF document, there are two tools that we'll be using to improve the document. These being Prepare Form and Accessibility, which can be found under the Tool tab and simply add it to the hotbar. And this is also where you will be able to remove any options that you do not want. The first thing that we will be doing is going to Prepare Form, which you will see I have Form Field Auto Detection as off, which is a perfect personal preference, as Prepare Form often misidentifies a lot of form fields. These must be removed by the end of the document, and if you leave auto detection on, just make sure to go back through and see that you have properly removed all unnecessary form fields. Once your settings are set how you would want, you can start by preparing the form. There are many different form fields that PDF allows you to enter. Some of the basic ones being text fields, checkboxes, or radio boxes. For this document, we will be only working with text boxes. To insert one of these form fields, you simply just find a place that is necessary, such as here we see a question. So we must enter in a text box so that our users can respond. This is done just by clicking on the text box and dragging it to be the proper size that you desire. After you have inserted the text box, you must go to All Properties and insert the question within Name and under Tooltip as well. Now that we have entered in the question under Name and Tooltip, we go to Options and check the multi-line function. This allows users to create longer answers that will be formatted in paragraph form instead of one long sentence that goes off the edge of the page. This is how almost all text boxes will be used and will be created, except when dealing with tables. Within PDF, if you create text boxes of the same name, it registers all of them as being the same text box. This means that if two text boxes have the same name and you enter an answer into one of them, it will edit the other text box with the same exact answer. This becomes very difficult when dealing with tables, and the best way to get around this is by tagging the end of every single question within a table by saying row 1, row 2, and so on. I'll now go through and finish out the table as well as the rest of the form fields for this document. Now that we have prepared all of the form fields, we can move on to the next step. This is done by closing out the Prepare Form tab and going to Accessibility. From here, we will open up the reading order. You'll see that the reading order is automatically generated by PDF, and it does a pretty good job of this, but there are a couple issues that we'll run into and have to fix manually. The first of which comes when you're looking at the table. You can see if you open the Show Order panel that there are over 38 things marked on this page. If we go to the structure type, we can see that within the table, all of these are labeled as text or paragraph, even though it's just blank space. This is because PDF sees all keystrokes that you enter within Microsoft, including if you just hit enter to make a space, or in this case within the table, if you make it any bigger than just a one wide column, it will automatically enter in a paragraph entry, which PDF picks up and will then relay to the screen reader. The easiest way to get rid of this is just do Clear Page Structure, which will clear the entire structure just for the first page. We can then go through and mark everything as it needs to be. This is where you need to make sure to mark everything correctly, especially when you're dealing with the headings. In our case, we mark the first heading as heading 1, then all other headings are formatted the same as heading 2. And in some documents, you can have a heading 3, 4, and so on. But just make sure that the hierarchy is perfectly in sync throughout the entire document. Now that we get to the table, you just want to highlight the table in its entirety and then capture all of it as table. This will make it one single entry within the document instead of all those multiple ones that we saw earlier. Labeling this table as a single element does a couple really helpful things, but it doesn't completely solve the issue as of yet. To look further into this, we can go and uncheck the display like elements in a single block box, which then will pull up what all is labeled underneath the table. This labels all of our form fields for us, so we no longer have to go through and do that for every single box. But it still has the miss-hit stroke keys and the extra paragraph functions underneath there. However, these are easy enough to remove, as you can just go up and right-click on them, and then go to delete structure item. I'll now go through and delete all of these structures and show you the end product. Now you can see that the table looks a lot cleaner, as well as having all of the form fields within underneath the table element. We can now recheck the display like elements box and check that the table is still all in one element. Moving down to the next page, we see that all of the entries are in order and correct, except next to these form fields, we see two boxes that should not be there and that were just solely there because of the inner stroke keys on the Microsoft document. To fix this, we simply just go over and delete the two entries that do not need to be there. And then we highlight the form field that we entered earlier and mark it as such. You will now see that we have two form fields on the left panel, but they're not in order. To fix this, you could simply just click and drag to where they need to be. Then doing a quick check, you can see that it goes in numerical order, just 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is how the screen reader will move throughout the document. Looking up top as well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, showing that our reading order is correct. Things such as footers will not be included in the reading order, so you'll have to go through and make sure you enter this wherever you would like in the document. We found it best to enter the very last footer on the last page to be a part of the reading order, as opposed to including it on each and every page. Once this is done and you check the reading order and make sure it's to your liking, then you're ready to move on to the accessibility check. As you can see, one of the things that our document is missing is a title. It's very easy to forget in PDF documents, as the file name and title are different, unlike in Word. To fix this, you go to File, Properties, and here you can see that I did transfer over the author as well as keywords from our Word document. And simply enter a title. Click OK. Then once we check for accessibility again, you can see that we're passing. This means that our document has hit the minimum requirement for accessibility as a PDF. To make a PDF document fully accessible requires a large amount of time commitment, which is why we also provide the Microsoft Word document on our OER website to fill in any accessibility issues that are not directly addressed in this PDF. However, this PDF document is now significantly better than when we started, is ready to be entered into our OER website.